So Wuthering Waves just wrapped up their version 2.5 livestream, and this one's got people feeling all kinds of ways. Some folks loved it, others not so much. And now there is a whole debate going on. Was this livestream just filler, or is there something deeper going on in here? But more than that, I've got some thoughts. Some things I genuinely enjoyed, a few things I'm a bit worried about, and yeah, some stuff I wish QoL had handled differently. So in this video, we're breaking down the whole livestream. I'll walk you through everything that happened, share my reactions, and talk about what this update might mean moving forward. So if you're into this kind of content, go ahead and like the video, drop a comment letting me know your thoughts. Was it hype or did it fall flat? Was it filler or something more? And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you catch up on any of my future videos. Alright, let's dive in. So the livestream kicks off with a recap of version 2.4 story. They basically walked us through everything that happened, but they did highlight a few key details. One of those was that Cardathea went to the Black Shores for analysis, and that's important, because we found out that there are still remnants of the Threnodian inside her, which tells us straight up that the Threnodian is coming back in version 2.5. Now I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I do like that the Threnodian is a persistent villain. You don't see that a lot anymore. Most games introduce a new villain, you beat them in one update, then boom, on to the next. But with the Threnodian, we've been dealing with this thing since version 2.2. So yes, I respect that continuity. But on the flip side, it's starting to feel like the Threnodian is just lucky. Because every time we fought, we've completely wrecked it, and yet here it is again. I mean, in version 2.4, it only shows up because there was a fragment of it left in Maya. And now, apparently, there's another piece lingering in Cardathea. It's starting to feel less like a master plan and more like the plot is just keeping it around for convenience. I really hope version 2.5 gives us more insights into the Threnodian, something deeper, something that actually justifies its return. Also, during the recap, they pointed out that Frilova took something from the script Chronosphere, and whatever that was is going to play a big role in the upcoming story. That's actually a pretty good way to build hype, and it set the stage without giving too much away. Then we get the story trailer, and honestly, this was probably the most exciting part in the entire livestream for me. There was just so much packed into it. They give us a peek at the new environment. If I caught the name right, it's called the Fabricatorium of the Deep, and it looks incredible. The visuals, the atmosphere, everything felt fresh and mysterious. But it wasn't just the scenery, they also teased bits of the story, showed off new mechanics we'll be interacting with, and just overall gave us a lot more than I expected. It genuinely got me hyped. I'm really looking forward to version 2.5. I think this story has the potential to be one of the best we've seen so far. Now, there are two things from this trailer that stood out the most to me. First, we're finally going to meet Fenrico, and this is huge. Honestly, it might be the biggest story moments in the entire 2.x series so far. I mean, I've been waiting for this encounter, and I'm excited to see not just how it plays out, but why it's happening now. What's the setup? What are we going to learn? There is so much mystery surrounding Fenrico, and this could change everything. But the second big thing that's got me a little uneasy. Apparently, we're going to be working with Frilova to reach Fenrico, and I'm not just worried, I'm kind of scared. Now, we've all known about Frilova since the drip marketing. It was pretty obvious that at some point, the story would focus on her. We knew we'd eventually work with her and dig deeper into her character. But even with that in mind, there's a reason I still have hope about how this plays out. There's a moment in the trailer that really stood out to me. It suggests that the rover is still very cautious of Frilova. Here's the clip.
Here we shall witness the advent of the lost beyond.
I'm not here to play games. Cut to the chase. What are you after?
Now, I think this is important because I don't think this is going to be a sudden change of heart situation where everyone's suddenly best friends. It's more likely that they're working together out of necessity. Here's my theory. Frilova and the rover have a common goal. She needs help achieving something, and the rover is a part of that equation. So instead of a redemption arc or emotional shift, it feels more like a temporary alliance, a deal. And honestly, that makes way more sense given what we've seen so far. That said, I really believe Wuthering Waves is going to handle this well, because this is the first time we've seen an enemy team up with the rover. So the writing has to land. But based on what we've seen from QoL so far, I don't think they will drop the ball. I think it's going to be cool, and yet the trailer absolutely fire. Then the devs revealed the new 5-star character coming in this patch, Frilova, and surprisingly, we got a lot of information about her. Not long after the livestream ended, QoL actually dropped an official write-up that gave us detailed summary of who she is, and honestly, that made her way more interesting than I expected. Turns out there was a time in her life when she was famous. The document didn't directly say that she was an opera singer, but they did say that she had fame, and based off her vibe, her mannerisms, and that whole elegant but airy presentation, she really gives us this opera conductor or singer energy, so I think it's safe to say that she was one. But here's where it gets weird. Despite being famous, she was considered odd. People were strangely drawn to her. The documentation literally says that her modus operandi was shoving her autograph into the mouths of her fans, which is definitely not normal. But it doesn't stop there. Every time she went to a place, something went wrong. Some kind of freak accidents always happen. And when people were asked about it, they say they felt an ominous presence in the audience. So there is this clear air of mystery and danger around her. But even deeper than that, the documentation hints at a time before all the fame, a time when Frilova was just a regular person living a normal life. And now I'm more curious, who was she before all this? What changed? Just from those details, I already want to know everything about her. Now, ability-wise, Frilova is a Havoc user, but her fighting style is pretty unique. While most characters in the game fight directly, Frilova actually lets Hecate do the fighting for her, and Hecate is a huge part of her lore. Now, I'm not entirely sure if Hecate is considered an echo or a tacit discord when it comes to Frilova, but either way, there is clearly something deeper going on. The game's been dropping hints for a while now, especially in that new write-up, about the strange connection between Frilova and Hecate. There is mention of a shared frequency between them, something almost symbiotic. It feels like there is a whole layer to their relationship that we haven't uncovered yet. And honestly, I think Kuro has done an amazing job marketing Frilova. From the beginning, you can tell she's not just your standard character. There is depth, mystery, and a lot of potential for story development. I've said this in other videos, but Wuthering Waves really nailed how they position Frilova. It makes sense that she'd eventually team up with the Rover, not because of some random alignment shift, but because there's always been this sense that her goals might align with ours under the right conditions. So between the lore drops, her showcase, and overall presentation, I'm fully invested in where her story is going next. This was definitely a strong review. After Frilova's showcase, we're introduced to a new system coming to Wuthering Waves called the Overture Quest. The idea behind it is to help us prepare for the next version, and it features Augusta, which all but confirmed that she will be the new character in version 2.6. Now, as cool as that sounds, this was actually one of the lower points of the live stream for me. And that's because calling this a quest feels like a bit of a stretch. It's really more of a decision simulator than an actual quest. From what we saw, this system revolves around cards. You are given a set of cards with bits of information, and then you make decisions based on what those cards say. So maybe one card represents a person and another explains a scenario or an outcome, and you pick how to proceed based on that context. It's very dialogue heavy, very text focused, definitely something meant for lore lovers. And to be fair, that is fine. But they also made it clear that your choices here won't affect the main story. So no matter what you pick, nothing really changes. There's no branching impacts, no major consequences. It's just flavor text, background, which is cool for people who are deep into the lore, but for everyone else, I can't see this being a highlight. So yeah, interesting concept, but for me, it felt like a bit of a lull in the livestream. Next in the livestream, we got a deep dive into the Fabricatorium of the Deep, the brand new region coming in the version 2.5 update. And honestly, this could have been one of the biggest highlights for me, but there is something they say that's left me feeling a little unsure. Now, first off, we already know that Wuthering Waves nails their environmental design. That's expected at this point. This region looks amazing. We're getting new mechanics, new enemies, including brand new Fractalus type that we've never seen before. And that is exciting, especially because up until now, we'd only seen 2 or 3 Fractalus variants. So this opens up way more depth and lore about a faction, which I think is really cool. But the mechanics they showed off in this region are what really stood out. They highlight 2 main ones. Firstly, we can finally swim, and that's a big deal. And secondly, there is a new time slowing mechanic. When you're just exploring, it lets you slow time around you, but in combat, it has this cool effect that boosts your damage and creates some stylish visuals. Now, here is where my concern kicks in. While they were explaining these mechanics, they kept emphasizing that all of this will be done in the quest, and that has me feeling a little worried. Does that mean that once the quest is over, we lose all these features? Like, will the swimming zones be locked off after the story is done? Will the time slowing mechanic only work during specific quest sections? That's where the uncertainty creeps in, because I really hope that's not the case. Even if these mechanics are only meant for this region, they should at the very least stay accessible within the region, something we can freely use and mess around with after the quest ends. It just wouldn't make much sense if they were locked away the moment the story wraps up. Alright, moving on, we also got to see the Fenrico fight in action, and not only that, we found out that defeating Fenrico will reward us with an Echo, which confirms that he will be a weekly boss going forward, and that's a big deal. Alongside Fenrico, they also teased a bunch of new Echoes, Nightmare Hecate, Phantom Nightmare Inferno Rider, and a few others, all of them looking really cool and adding even more variety to the pool. But another major highlight in this region is the introduction of a brand new Sonata effect called Dream of the Lost. Now here's what makes this interesting. Unlike other Sonata effects, which usually comes with a 2-piece and 5-piece bonus, this one only comes with a 3-piece bonus, and honestly, I don't know how to feel about that yet. It's definitely different. On one hand, it might actually be a W because it removes the stress of hunting down 5 specific echoes just to activate the full set bonuses. With only 3 needed, building around this set could be way more accessible and less time consuming. But like most things, we'll have to test it out in-game to really see how impactful it is. Now, speaking of echoes, Kuro is also making echo farming easier in version 2.5. They're introducing a new area called the Falling Grave Nightmare Nest, and this is where you can farm echoes specifically for the Dream of the Lost Sonata. And here's the best part. Number 1, it looks like every echo you defeat in this location turns directly into something you can absorb, so no need to rely on RNG drops. And number 2, you don't need to use wave plates here. That's right, echo farming in this zone is free, no wave plates required. The only catch is that there's a limit to how many echoes you can get from it each day. But even with that restriction, this is a huge W. Echo farming is easily one of the most tedious parts of Wuthering Waves, so any system that helps reduce the grind, even if it is capped, is a massive win in my book. Next up, we got the Resonator Convene schedule for this patch. In the first half, we'll be seeing Frilova alongside Ruchia, and in the second, it's Brant and Cantarella. Now, I have heard, emphasis on heard, that Ruchia and Cantarella are actually optimal teams for Frilova. So if you're planning on pulling for Frilova, it might be worth considering one of them to round out your team. Anyway, after that, we're shown a cute little mini game called the Phantasma Dreamland. Now, I've already talked about this in my live stream, which you can check out if you want a more raw, unfiltered take on everything I'm saying here. The link is at the top of the video right now. But to be honest, I don't care for this event at all. It feels like a side activity just meant to hand out a few extra rewards, grab some astrites and move on. So if you're someone who enjoys light-hearted events or quick gameplay, this might be fun for you, but for me, zero interest. Then we have another event called the Overflowing Picture Book. It's a nice casual way to earn a few extra astrites, nothing too fancy, just another reward-focused side activity. Now moving on from that to something that's meant to be a major highlight in version 2.5. The Dreaming Deep. Now, the Dreaming Deep is meant to be a replacement for the Elusive Realm, and for those of you who never experienced the Elusive Realm, especially for newer players, it was kind of like the weekly events we have now, but way more fleshed out. Instead of using up to 3 characters like we do now, the Elusive Realm only lets you bring 1, and as you progress, you can find support characters along the way. The echoes in the Elusive Realm were also way more interesting. They weren't just your typical echoes, they gave you way more to play with, more variety, more effects, and overall made the experience feel rich and dynamic. Honestly, everything about the Elusive Realm just worked. It was well designed and fun. That said, I can understand why they'd want to retire it, because for all its fun, the Elusive Realm didn't really have replay value. It lacked that repetitive hook, the kind of thing that keeps you coming back again and again. And that's probably why Dreaming Deep was introduced. And in theory, it is supposed to be a fantastic replacement. But in practice, the Dreaming Deep just feels unfinished. Not boring, but definitely not ready. You see, the idea behind the Dreaming Deep is actually pretty solid. There is a story, an actual storyline. And there are 2 types of events that play out. First, you have the story events that push the narrative forward. And second, you got the side events. These gives you buffs or tools that help you progress through the Dreaming Deep more easily. So on paper, it is not a bad setup at all. The concept is there. But there are 3 major issues, and honestly, they might be the worst parts of the entire experience. I'm talking the story itself, the actual story events, and then the whole idea of alternate endings. Let me break it down. You see, the way Wuthering Waves try to tell the story of the Dreaming Deep is just walls and walls of text. They throw up a background image, sure, but then they just drop huge chunks of writing on you, and that goes on for a very long time, like seriously long. And to me, this is hands down the worst way to tell a story in a video game. Because this isn't just simple dialogue between 2 characters, no. This is full-on storytelling with setting, atmosphere, action, even conversation, all crammed into giant text blocks. It kills the pacing, and the second you see a skip button, most people are going to hit it, because let's be real, nobody wants to sit and read all that in a game like this. Now, how would I fix this? It's actually pretty simple. Comic strips, that's it. Don't bother with full animations or cutscenes, just go the Zenith Zone Zero route. Use comic style panels. Let us see the story unfold visually. Let us experience the world, not just read about it. That would make a huge difference in immersion, because right now it just feels lazy. The current method isn't just doing justice to the Dreaming Deep. Now let's talk about the events themselves. The biggest issue here is that there is no connection between the events and the actual story setting. In these events, you're fighting monsters, but the environment that you're fighting in is the same exact backdrop as the old Elusive Realm. There is no atmosphere, no reflection of the story's world, nothing that grounds you in what's actually happening in the narrative, which is absolutely insane, because when you start the Dreaming Deep for the first time, they give you this beautiful backdrop which reflects the environment the story is taking place in. But as you continue going up, they just switch back to the normal Elusive Realm backdrop, which to be honest, I can't really understand. Because they drop walls of text to set a scene, and then immediately throws you into an event that looks like every other Elusive Realm fight. There is a huge disconnect, and that disconnect just makes the whole thing feel more bland. Because nothing about this event tells you, hey, there is a story going on here. My fix, do the opposite. At least for the story events, let the setting match the narrative. Give us an environment that reflects the story being told. Let the atmosphere back up the text. Now I get it, side events, buff zones, whatever, those can stay in the Elusive Realm style. That's fine, but the story events, they should feel different, they should stand out. Right now, everything blends together, and that kills the vibe completely. And lastly, there's the idea of alternate endings, but here's the thing. How are we even supposed to know that alternate endings exist when the story is just walls and walls of text, and the events feel completely disconnected from that story? Honestly, in my first few runs through the Dreaming Deep, I had no idea there were alternate endings. I only found out when I went to claim some rewards and saw, oh, there's more to this. And again, that's because I skipped the story, I did the events, and I thought I was done. The game did not make it feel like I was missing anything. And even now that I know that alternate endings exist, I still don't feel motivated to go back and chase them. Why? Because nothing about how the Dreaming Deep is delivered makes me care. The story delivery turns me off. The events don't reflect the story, and there is zero excitement around the idea of exploring different outcomes. Now, I want the Dreaming Deep to be amazing. That's why I'm urging everybody right now that in the next survey, in the 2.5 survey, we fill it with all the problems with the Dreaming Deep, whether the ones mentioned in this video or your own personal problems. Because this could be Wuthering Waves' best endgame mode if the devs actually lock in and get it right. But right now, it's not just there. It's not good, it's not engaging, it's not enjoyable. But it can be. It really can. Anyway, after the Dreaming Deep segments, they wrap things up with more Astrite Gathering events and a few quality of life updates. And honestly, the standout change here, the one I genuinely love, is the echo sync tuning while leveling up. You no longer need to level up your echo, then go back just to sync it. Now you can just do both at the same time in one go, and this is a smooth and welcome change. They also threw in other quality of life upgrade that just helps improve the overall gameplay flow, and that brings us to the end of the 2.5 livestream. So what do I think of the livestream overall? First off, let's get this straight. This is absolutely not a filler patch. I think a lot of people throw that word around without really understanding what it means. And I'll admit, I made that same mistake too. But when you think about it, the defining quality of a filler is that it doesn't contribute to the main story. It's just there to pad time. And that is not what this is. This version arguably has the single most important story in the entire 2.x arc. Between the environment, Frilova and Fenrico, there's clearly a lot of lore progression. But here's the issue, in 6 weeks of content, we only have 2 main things to do. So even though it's not a filler, it still feels like an empty version. The story and the Dreaming Deep will last maybe a week or a week and a half, and that leaves us with 4.5 weeks of nothing. And after a version like version 2.4, which was packed with content and energy, this one just feels a bit dry in comparison. That said, I am invested, I'm interested in Frilova, I'm interested in where the story is going, I'm hyped about the new area. I just really hope that going forward, Wuthering Waves reworks the Dreaming Deep, make it more engaging, takes community feedback seriously, maybe even pull from conversations like this one, and just give it the glow up that it needs. But now I want to hear from you. Did you enjoy it? What do you think of the stream? Was Dreaming Deep fun for you or not? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.